My dad blamed me when my wife left us for another man. 20 years later, my successful daughter refused to invite either of them to her wedding. I 52 minutes have a daughter Sophia 25 Fahrenheit who is getting married to a wealthy businessman James 28 minutes in a couple of months. This story goes back 20 years when my ex-wife Kelly 50 Fahrenheit left me and our 5-year-old daughter for another man. We had been college sweethearts and dated for 4 years before getting married. The first few years of marriage were wonderful. We both had promising careers. I was climbing the corporate ladder as an engineer while she was making her mark in marketing. When Sophia was born, we were overjoyed. At least I thought we both were. The first few years with Sophia were amazing. Kelly seemed to be a devoted mother, always making time for our daughter despite her busy schedule. We had built what I thought was a perfect life, a beautiful home in the suburbs, successful careers, and a lovely daughter. But everything changed when Sophia turned 5. I started noticing changes in Kelly's behavior. She began working late more often, became distant, and was always on her phone. Initially, I brushed it off as work stress. Then one day I accidentally saw messages on her phone when I was helping her set up a new app. She had been having an affair with her coworker Mark for almost a year. When I confronted her, instead of showing remorse, she seemed relieved that the truth was out. She told me she felt trapped in our marriage and that she never wanted to be tied down with a child so early in life. She said she loved Mark and was leaving us for good. Just like that, she packed her bags and walked out on us, leaving me to explain to our 5-year-old why mommy wasn't coming home. I was devastated, but what hurt me more was my father Anthony's 75 meters reaction to all of this. Instead of supporting me through this difficult time, he blamed me for not being man enough to keep my wife happy and called me a disgrace to the family. He said real men don't let their wives leave them for other men, and that I should have done whatever it took to make the marriage work. My relationship with my father had always been complicated. Coming from a traditional business family, he had certain expectations that I could never meet. He wanted me to join the family business after college, but I chose to become an engineer instead. This created a rift between us that never really healed. When I married Kelly, he was initially against it because she came from a modest background, unlike our wealthy family. But he later accepted her when she proved to be ambitious and career-oriented like him. After Kelly left, we temporarily moved in with my parents as I tried to figure out our next steps. But living with them only made things worse. My father kept pressuring me to reconcile with Kelly. He said I should swallow my pride and beg her to come back for Sophia's sake. He even went behind my back and contacted Kelly, offering her money to return when she refused. He blamed me again, saying I had driven her away with my inadequacies as a husband. What broke me completely was when I overheard him telling Sophia that her mommy left because daddy wasn't good enough. He told my 5-year-old daughter that if her daddy had been a better husband and followed his advice about joining the family business, her mommy would still be with us. That day I packed our bags and left his house. I couldn't let my daughter grow up believing that her mother's abandonment was somehow my fault. I cut all contact with my father and focused on building a new life for Sophia and myself. It wasn't easy being a single father, especially in a society that still looks at single dads with suspicion. I had to juggle work and childcare, often working overtime to provide for Sophia. Kaylee never paid any child support despite having a well-paying job. She completely abandoned us, not even calling on Sophia birthdays or during holidays. Over the years, my father would occasionally try to contact us through relatives. His message was always the same, that I needed to fix things with Kelly and stop being stubborn. He never once acknowledged that what Kelly did was wrong or that his words had hurt us. He was more concerned about what people would say about a broken marriage in the family than about his granddaughter's well-being. Despite all odds, I built a successful career as an engineer and gave Sophia the best life I could. I made sure she never felt the absence of a mother by being both parents to her. I attended every school event, helped with homework, and was there for every milestone in her life. I never badmouthed Kelly or my father to her, simply telling her that sometimes adults make choices that hurt others. When she was old enough to understand, I told her the truth about why her mother left and why we didn't speak to her grandfather. 2 weeks ago, I received a call from my father. He had somehow found out about Sophia's upcoming wedding to James through social media and wanted to be part of it. He said he was getting old and wanted to make amends. He talked about how he regretted his past actions and wanted a chance to be a grandfather again. The next day, surprisingly, Kelly also reached out saying she regretted her past actions and wanted to be there for her daughter's wedding. She said she had made a huge mistake leaving us and wanted to make things right. I didn't give them any answer and discuss it with Sophia instead. I told her it was entirely her decision whether she wanted them at her wedding or not. I was ready to support whatever she chose. After all, it's her special day and she should be surrounded by people who truly care about her. This happened just last week and I'm still processing it. I know my father is trying to reach out to other relatives to convince me. and Kelly has been sending emotional messages about wanting to make things right. After what they put us through after all these years of silence when we needed them, I don't know if they deserve to be part of our lives now, either for not wanting them at the wedding date one first. I want to thank everyone for their supportive comments on my original post. A lot has happened since then, and I want to share how incredibly proud I am of my daughter. Yesterday, Sophia and I had a long heart-to-heart conversation. She sat me down and told me about her journey to becoming a doctor, something she had never shared in detail before. She said watching me raise her alone, working extra hours and never complaining, inspired her to push herself beyond her limits. What really touched me was when she revealed that her drive to become a doctor started the day I had to skip meals to pay for her school supplies. She said she noticed but never said anything. And from that day she promised herself she would make something of herself, so I would never have to sacrifice again. She also told me something that broke my heart. She had actually reconnected with Kelly briefly during her second year of medical school. Apparently Kelly had reached out after seeing Sophia's name in a medical journal for a research paper she had published. She wanted to meet for coffee and Sophia, hoping for some closure, agreed. During that meeting, Kelly barely asked about Sophia's life or apologized for abandoning her. Instead, she spent most of the time talking about how difficult her life had been after leaving us, how her relationship with Mark hadn't worked out, how she had married and divorced twice since then. She even had the audacity to suggest that Sophia could help her financially once she became a doctor. That was when Sophia realized Kelly was only interested in her because she was on her way to becoming successful. What shocked me most was learning that my father had tried to contact Sophia multiple times over the years, especially after she became a resident at a prestigious hospital. He would show up at medical conferences where she was presenting, bragging to his friends about his brilliant granddaughter, but never actually speaking to her. He would tell everyone how her success must come from his side of the family, completely ignoring the fact that we achieved everything without his help. Sophia told me she remembers clearly the day he told her that her mom left because of me. She was only 5, but those words stuck with her. Instead of breaking her, they fueled her determination. She wanted to prove him wrong by becoming successful despite having what he called an inadequate father. She worked incredibly hard through school, graduating as valedictorian. During medical school, she would often take extra shifts during her residency, building a reputation for being dedicated and brilliant. Now, at just 25, she's one of the youngest department heads at her hospital, known for her groundbreaking research in cardiovascular surgery. She's published numerous papers and is frequently invited to speak at international conferences. Her fiancé, James, who owns a successful tech company, told me he fell in love with her dedication and strength of character even before he knew about her achievements. What makes me most proud isn't her professional success, but how she's remained grounded through it all. She told me about how she uses her position to help underprivileged patients, often working pro bono for those who can't afford treatment. She started a foundation that helps single parents put their kids through medical school. The most emotional part of our conversation was when she showed me a journal she had kept since she was 12. In it, she had written letters to Kelly and Anthony that she never sent. The early ones were full of pain and confusion, asking why her mother left and why her grandfather was so cruel. But as the years went by, the letters changed. They became stronger, more determined. The last entry was from just before she graduated medical school. "Thank you for leaving. Your absence taught me more about strength and love than your presence ever could." This conversation made me realize how much my daughter had grown and how proud I was of the person she had become. Not just because of her professional success, but because of her emotional strength and clarity of judgment. She told me that while money and success are nice, what she values most is the relationship we built through those tough years. She also shared that James had been incredibly supportive when she told him about our family history. He himself comes from a close-knit family and was appalled at how Kelly and Anthony had treated us. He assured her that she didn't need to invite them to the wedding, just because they suddenly showed interest in her life. I went to bed last night feeling more proud than ever. My daughter hasn't just survived our difficult past, she's thrived despite it. She's taken the pain of abandonment and turned it into motivation to help others. She's become successful not just in her career, but as a human being, no matter what Kelly or Anthony might say. Now I know that's because of the values we built together, just the two of us. I'm sharing this update because I want people to know that sometimes what seems like a broken family can actually be the strongest kind of family. Sophia and I might not have had a lot of relatives in our corner, but we had each other, and that proved to be more than enough. Take two things took an interesting turn yesterday. After our heart-to-heart conversation last week, Sophia decided she wanted to give both Kelly and Anthony her decision about the wedding invitation face-to-face. She said she had been carrying these feelings for 20 years and wanted to express them directly. She arranged separate meetings at our house. Kelly was scheduled for morning and Anthony for afternoon. I offered to be present for support, but Sophia said she needed to do this alone. I respected her decision but stayed nearby in case she needed me. Haley arrived first looking expensive and polished as always. She brought an elaborate gift and tried to hug Sophia, who stepped back. What followed was the most powerful thing I've ever witnessed. Sophia started by asking Kelly if she remembered her 6th birthday, the first one after she left. She described how she had sat by the window all day wearing her new party dress waiting for her mother to show up. She told Kelly about crying herself to sleep for years, wondering why her mother didn't love her enough to stay. She talked about how she would make up stories at school about her mom being away on business trips, because she was too ashamed to say her mother had abandoned her. When Kelly tried to interrupt with excuses, Sophia firmly cut her off. She said she wasn't finished. She then pulled out her childhood journal and read entries from age of 7 through 12, all the milestones Kelly had missed. She read about losing her first tooth, winning the science fair, breaking her arm in gymnastics, all moments when she had desperately wanted her mother. The meeting with Anthony in the afternoon was even more intense. He came in with his usual authoritative air, but Sophia didn't let him dominate the conversation like he used to. She reminded him of every harsh word he had said about me every time he had blamed me for Kelly leaving. She told him she remembered hiding behind doors, listening to him berate me, and how those memories had shaped her entire childhood. Then came the moment that honestly filled me with pride. Sophia told them both that they weren't welcome at her wedding. She told Kelly that a mother's job isn't just to show up for the happy moments. It's to be there through the hard times too. To Anthony, she said that a real grandfather would have supported his son and granddaughter when they needed him most, not torn them down. Kelly broke down crying, saying she regretted her choices and deserved another chance. She tried to explain that she was young and confused back then, that she had made a terrible mistake. Anthony, true to form, became angry. He said he had a right to be at his granddaughter's wedding, that blood was thicker than water, and that he wouldn't be denied his place in the family. But Sophia stood firm. She told them that success didn't erase the past, and their sudden interest in her life now that she was successful only proved their superficiality. She pointed out that neither of them had tried to contact us during the struggling years, only showing up now that she was a successful doctor marrying a wealthy man. The most powerful moment was when Sophia said, "The only parent who deserves to be at my wedding is the one who is actually a parent, my dad. He's the one who held me when I cried for my mom, who worked extra shifts to pay for my education, who supported my dreams, even when everyone else said they were too big. He's the one who taught me what real love and family means." Both Kelly and Anthony left our house looking defeated. Kelly was still crying, and Anthony was red-faced with anger after they left. Sophie and I hugged, and she told me she felt lighter, like she had finally put down a heavy burden she had been carrying for years. James came over later that evening to check on Sophia. He was completely supportive of her decision and said he was proud of how she had handled the situation. He even suggested hiring extra security for the wedding to ensure there wouldn't be any unwanted drama. I'm sharing this update because I want other parents in similar situations to know that sometimes standing firm in your decisions, even when they're difficult, can help your children grow stronger. Sophia's ability to stand up to Kelly and Anthony today came from years of knowing she was loved and supported, even if it was just by one parent. Update 3. The aftermath of Sophia's decision has been intense, but I've never been prouder of my daughter. As expected, both Kelly and Anthony didn't take a rejection well and have been trying different tactics to pressure us into changing our minds. Anthony has been on a mission to turn the entire extended family against us. He's been calling relatives, telling them a twisted version of events where Sophia and I are denying him his rights as a grandfather. He's playing the victim card, saying he's an old man who might not have many years left and just wants to see his only granddaughter get married. Some relatives who never bothered to help us during our struggling years are now calling and testing nonstop, telling us we're being too harsh. They're saying things like family as family and people can change. One and even suggested that we were being selfish and denying Sophia a chance to have a complete family at her wedding. Kelly, on the other hand, has taken to social media. She's been posting emotional messages about being denied a chance to make amends with her daughter. She's sharing old photos from when Sophia was little, the few she has from before she left, writing long captions about regret and forgiveness. She even tried to contact James through his company, hoping he would convince Sophia to change her mind. But Sophia and I are at peace with the decision. James has been incredibly supportive through all of this. His family, who have grown to love Sophia like their own daughter, are firmly on our side. James, his father, who owns a security company, has personally arranged top-notch security for the wedding to ensure there are no uninvited guests or disruptions. Yesterday we met with the wedding planner to finalize the arrangements. As we sat there discussing flowers and table settings, Sophia suddenly turned to me with tears in her eyes. She said she felt relieved, like she had finally broken free from the weight of their rejection that she had carried for so many years. She told me that standing up to them made her realize that she had spent years seeking their approval without even knowing it. Every achievement, every success had a tiny part of her wondering if it would finally make them proud. But now she said she finally understood that their approval never mattered. What mattered was the love and support we had given each other. We're moving forward with the wedding preparations, focusing on celebrating with people who have actually been part of our lives. James' family has been wonderful, treating both Sophia and me like we've always been part of their family. His mother has especially stepped up helping with wedding preparations and being the maternal figure that Sophia never had. The wedding is shaping up to be beautiful, but more importantly, it will be authentic. Everyone present will be there because they genuinely care about us, not because of obligation or sudden interest in Sophia's success. I want to end this update by thanking everyone who supported us through these posts. Your comments and messages helped validate our feelings and gave us strength during this challenging time. To other single parents out there, stay strong. Sometimes the family you choose or the family you build with just your child is stronger than any traditional family structure. Sophia is proof that children can thrive with just one parent's love, as long as that love is genuine and unconditional. We're looking forward to the wedding and to many more years of being each other's rock, just like we've always been.